Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today on Adobe Marketo Engage, maybe big, but learn how a small team can maximize their individual instance. We have a great panel here today of Darshil, Joy, and Jenny, some of our three top Adobe Marketo champions. And we also have Carissa Russell, who is the leader of our new Deep Dive series. So this is part of the Deep Dive webinar series that will be starting next month. You're a part of the Deep Dive Marketo user group by being here today. So you'll be alerted to all of those webinars as we start next week. We'll go ahead and get into the agenda here. Oh, sorry, not next week, next month, excuse me. Quick agenda update for everybody. We're going to do a quick introduction, meet our champions and our speakers today. Then we'll get into the experience of these individual champions and how they've been able to be so successful with such a small team. And then also learning how they became self-sufficient, really how they got to where they are through the experience of being on just a team of one or a team of a small few. And then also we're going to talk about how this experience impacted their individual instances and how it helped them grow. And then we'll also always leave some time for Q&A. And then one of our champions, Darshil, has a very, very nice new process and new content creation I'll let him speak to later on in the webinar here today. All right, let's go ahead and get into introductions. Joyce or Darshil, you're up first. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey everyone, this is Darshil Shah. I work as a consultant at Deloitte. I am a Adobe Certified Master, the Marketo Engage Architect, three times Marketo Certified Expert, Champ of the Year 2022. I co-lead India Virtual Marketo User Group along with Ajay Sapal. Then I also am very active on the Marketo Nation community and have been being part of Deloitte. I worked on a lot of projects of all the sizes, be it large, medium size, or even on being on the teams where there were just few people, or even I was the single person handling a lot of market implementation projects. So I have a lot of knowledge about how to navigate around those areas, what are some of the distinctions, and how you need to adjust yourself as per the size of the team. And yeah, so super excited to be here and love to share insights and discuss everything with the other champions. Thank you so much for having me.
Sweet, thank you. Joy, up next.
Yeah, hey everybody, Joy Martinez. I'm also a consultant, Senior Director of Marketing Apps at CS2, and do have a lot of similar experience where I've been the sole, marketing apps and Marketo admin at the company, or one or two person team, as well as working with a lot of clients that have that size team. So, been working with Marketo now for about 11 years, I think. So excited to be here and always enjoy, joining the team here with champions. So excited to do it.
All right, Jenny, you're up next.
Hey, Jenny Robertson. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Annuitas, also an agency, ironically. I started my experience and adventures with Marketo about 12 years ago on a very small marketing team. We were one of the, first companies, not the first company, but one of the early adopters of marketing automation and Marketo, and have stuck with it ever since, and have worked with lots of different size teams over the years, still work on a small team, here with our own internal efforts, and have been part of the Marketo Champion program. I think this is my 9th time. So excited to be on the panel and talk to everybody today.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining and thank you all for those introductions. As a quick reminder, as I mentioned, this is a part of our future deep dive series. So as long as you are a part of this Bevy group or Marketo user group, you will be notified on all of those. Just a quick reminder on that. Also, I know there's always questions. Will this be recorded? Where will this be posted? Where can I get the slides? We will make sure all of these are available on Experience League. I don't know if I'll get them up tomorrow, but for sure by next week. So more to come on that. We're starting a new YouTube channel as well. So we're going to be able to post all of our webinars that we're hosting in this series on the YouTube channel. So you have a second place to find those resources. So more to come on those. Let's get into our content. So Darshil, since you started, let's go backwards and have Jenny, I'll have you go first. Could you talk about your experience on a small team and how are you able to stay organized?
Well, staying organized can be hard on a small team because there's a lot of moving pieces. But generally, as far as marketing efforts go, um, the team has always had a marketing calendar, and we would meet monthly, maybe more than that on a busy month, to go through the marketing calendar, what's coming up this month, next month, month after. So we're always staying organized as far as what efforts are coming so we can stay ahead of them. We also had a campaign process with SLAs. So when things were coming up, right, we needed certain different things to happen in advance, whether it was a tactical email send or an event or things of that nature. We had SLAs for the different types of marketing efforts so that all the different teams involved would be aligned. Not to say we always hit those SLAs, but we tried. More often than not, though, there's always those things, as you guys all know. And then I've kept myself organized a lot of different ways over the years. I've always had my own personal task list. I don't really use pen and paper anymore. It was my favorite for a really long time. I feel like I remember stuff a lot better when I write it down, but definitely have migrated on to online tools for that. I use Evernote and a Maven Link project management system as well to stay organized. Over the years, I think I've tried it all. I've tried Asana, I've tried Bootcamp, I've tried a lot of things, but making sure you have some kind of tool to help you stay on top of tasks and projects, I think is really, really key.
Awesome. Joy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think to stay organized, you got to be really good at project management and really hone those skills. I do, I've used a plethora of project management tools in my day. And, really am kind of a fan of the Kanban format where you're kind of moving things from intake to planning to in progress and, continuing on and stuff. But having that intake process is really important because you not only have kind of like your items that you're working on, but then you're going to constantly get hit up with requests all the time. And it'll be your job to help prioritize those requests, to push back if you need to change timelines, and really understand what aligns with the priorities for the organization. And, you got to kind of support both sides of the table, like, your, goals that align to your roadmap, but then also just those incoming ad hoc requests that you're getting on a frequent basis, really. So having those project management skills and using a tool to help definitely helps stay organized. And the one thing that, I would say that I'm going to probably touch on a little bit later is like that can actually come to your benefit to help add headcount down the road. So if you have some sort of intake ticketing system and you can see how much is coming your way, it definitely helps. And then having regular meetings with key stakeholders, I think, is another way that I kept organized. So it helped me better predict and kind of forecast what was coming when, because you're just in constant communication with, key team members and stuff. And so, definitely setting up and having like even just small little coalitions with you and maybe the Salesforce admin or, you and sales ops, and at least, build those relationships will help you better predict when the work is coming. And that definitely helps in terms of staying organized as well.
Awesome. Darshil.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Joy and Jenny, and those are some of the things that I also use to personally stay organized. So, like when I'm deployed on multiple projects, it really becomes hard to find which project, like what is the ask in the each project and where we are at with respect to the each project. So personally, use Evernote to like I when I log in daily, I just list down the things that I need to do, what are the priorities, and like along like as per the priorities I start tackling each of the work that is on my plate. So like to be honest, I was not very much organized when I started off with my professional career. I thought probably it's a waste of time to document everything, to set the priorities and stuff like that. I can have it in my mind, but over the time I have realized that the more I document, the more I set priorities, I like the more I become organized, I'm able to tackle the task and let my mind focus on the actual thing rather than just having my mind focusing on the things that I need to do next. So definitely document things, making a task list. And I really like documenting things that on my personal front, as well as documenting things for my clients. So for example, if client is using XYZ platform, I also update there what the task needs to be done and what are the risk items associated to that. I also document on a personal note as well, so that I have full parity and ensure that none of the tasks get you know uh, risk zoned or something like that. And definitely agree on Joy regarding setting up the internal meetings as well as meetings with the stakeholders to ensure that we are on track. And if there are any risk items, plan that ahead of time and ensure that those risk items are mitigated and communicated to client on a on at the upfront, so that there are no mob fires in the end.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Joy, when you get stuck, where do you go for help?
Yeah, I mean, usually my first go-to is always just the product documentation. I think Adobe does a great job at documentation. So going to the product docs and just learning. I've studied them a lot in my day, and I reference them still today. At some points and stuff. There's certain things that you just sometimes might not do for a while, and you need to kind of go back and do a little refresher. And then the marketing nation, going to the community, reading articles. There's people that have likely been through what you're going through. And, there's probably some posts and solutions and suggestions, that you can find pretty easily just through the marketing nation. So those are a couple of the places that I'd start.
Awesome. Jenny, your thoughts?
Those are the first two places I start. And then after that, I will try to see, Adobe has so many great Marketo training modules available. I will check there next. And then Google. Honestly, rarely do I ever have to go past those things. Those things, 90% of the time, get me my answer. If not, then I go to Google. But I will say, and this is not because the three of us are all consultants, but especially earlier in my career, having a partner you can go to. I know for me, traditionally, especially on small teams, I didn't have anybody internally I could turn to, and our partners were more strategic and not technical. But I did have a partner that if I absolutely could not find the answer, I could go to. And for me, especially earlier on in my career, that was really big. If I got stuck, having that backup. But fast forward to now, where I am in my career, I also reach out to my peers. There's amazing champions out there. They're on LinkedIn, they're on the community. They are all willing to answer any questions, not just me, but anybody has. And I think that's really amazing.
Yeah, shout out Adobe Marketo partner ecosystem. It really is incredible.
Yeah.
Darshil, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely, Marketing Nation community and documentation pages. And over the time, as Jenny has said, there have been a lot of user groups and even Slack channels that have a lot of knowledgeable people exchanging thoughts and answering questions. So I also go there. And apart from that, as Jenny said, having mentors, having people who are already in this field helps a lot. So, for example, if I'm dealing with complex project or a technical thing that I may need to consult with anyone. So apart from going through the documentation, Marketing Nation communities, those Slack groups, I also reach out to some of my mentors with whom I have worked on a lot of projects, both in my previous organization as well as the current organization as well. So definitely these are the items, and I think I have got all answers to all of my questions within this ecosystem itself. So
Awesome. And I'll also just give a shout out. If any of those resources don't work, feel free to post in Marketing Nation, right? That's what our champions, our community advisors, and your
absolutely.
general Marketo partners are there to answer your questions for you. So also want to shout that out. All right, let's go with Jenny next. What was your approach to a huge project when you had something coming over your top that you know was going to be big? How did you approach something like that?
Yeah. So normally for the big projects, ideally you kick it off meeting with the appropriate stakeholders, making sure you identify the right needs of the project, and then figure out how to break that down into the appropriate size pieces, depending on the size of the project, right? So making sure from the start you understand the deliverables, you understand the stakeholders and teams involved, and then you understand the pieces it's going to take to get there. Making sure I think everyone's aligned, especially me, right? If I'm in charge of the project at the beginning, and knowing the expectations is really, really huge, because I feel like with large projects, it's really easy to make assumptions along the way. And that's what really gets you into danger. So making sure at the start you know what everybody needs and how to do it. And then I'd say documenting what we're going to do, and then checking in along the way. And then depending on the project and the size, right, at the end, if it's a huge Marketo build, maybe you're building a new revenue cycle model, right? At the end, I would probably get with the right stakeholders and demo it before we would actually go through a launch and do training and make sure everyone's aligned, things of that nature.
Sweet. Darshil?
I personally like to break the entire project into multiple chunks, the multiple chunks of the task, and further break those tasks into very very simple tasks. So that is how I approach any of the larger size project, basically, or I would say any of the projects per se. So Conquer is the approach that I use a lot. So apart from that, when these large projects are like, when we are thinking about all of these large projects are multiple platforms involved, multiple technologies coming into and like working in synchrony. So I also like to think about the different use cases, different things that might break the logic that I'm building. So definitely spend some time around what are the different integrations, what are the different modules that might affect this particular module that I'm building. So I like to do a 360 overview of the entire project, of the entire ask, and I definitely like documenting a lot now. So I build the lucid diagrams, I build the flow diagrams, I build out what is their existing program flow like, what's their existing process, what is their goal state, what is the difference between the delta between it, and how can we as a team approach the delta and build out build out whatever they need as a Marketo programming in Marketo and launched successfully.
Awesome. Joy?
Yeah, I won't repeat everything that they said, but echoing yes, yes, yes on everything that they said. Some things that I can probably add to that. When you have those key milestones, also think through, expected dependencies and blockers that you may run into during the project. So, that'll also help with like timelines and stuff, because if you're waiting for responses back before you can move forward or decisions to be made, different groups that, may be a little bit out of your control, factor some of that into the timing so that you don't get behind not factoring that in. And then also thinking, just kind of to highlight what Jenny said about presenting at the end, definitely don't forget about the enablement and the monitoring piece of a large project. So generally, when you're doing something a little bit larger at scale, there's definitely a lot of monitoring that should be going on, testing, QA, all that UAT. And ensure that even after it goes live, the project still isn't technically done. You may have documentation to fine tune, you may have monitoring. And if you kind of think of it more as like a product where you're putting out releases and such, that helps, because you can kind of think of like, what do we bare bones need for our MVP, like our go live? And then, what would maybe the next phase look like and the next phase look like? So sometimes I think we get excited about like, oh, but we could do this and we could do that. And like, all these features and all this stuff that we could do. And that's great. But sometimes you just need to break it down to, listen, we've got 1 month to launch this, like, what do we bare bones need? And then what can we do the next month? And then the month after that too. So, you may have to kind of prioritize and roadmap accordingly, kind of like a product release.
Awesome. Let's get into the big, bold ones. People are here. Jenny, can we hear from you first? Was your biggest lesson learned that you can share with this group here?
I don't know if I can break it down to one, but there's a couple. One would be, when you're part of a small team, don't be afraid to say you don't know how to do something, or maybe that you need help. I know there's been some times on a small team where I've spinned my wheels trying to figure something out when there's nobody else that can do something. And it's okay to reach out to other people and say you need help, because you'll spin your wheels for way too long. And I think also, as you're part of a small team, hopefully you're going to be lucky enough over time to see that team grow. If and when that team grows, don't be afraid to let go of things and enable others to take things off your plate. I think that's probably something huge to keep in mind as well.
Awesome. Joy.
Yeah, I think that last point, especially because, like, even if you're, the expert, like, part of your career growth, and as you build a team will be to be a leader and knowing how to mentor and coach others. So, still being able to, be in charge, probably of more of the strategic items, but sometimes you do have to let go and let some of the, other team members that you're building up, develop them and, give them those skills and allow them to, play a part as well. But I think in terms of like a big lesson learned is to be able to know how to say no and set boundaries. And you don't have to do it in a rude way, right? You want people to like working with you, but you do need to know how to prioritize. And if you just say yes to everything, you're saying no to something else. So, keep an eye on your tasks and what's on your roadmap and what aligns with the goals for the organization, and just know when to say no or not right now, and discuss when it does fit into the priorities. So get really good at that.
Awesome. And last but not least, Darshil.
On a personal note, I feel like for me, the biggest lesson was to get as much possible as organized as possible. So basically, when we are working in small teams, things could easily go out of hand. The fires could easily become larger fires. So definitely, plan well and do a periodic risk assessment of everything that you have, and ensure the appropriate messages are converted to are communicated to stakeholders well in advance and in time, so that nothing goes uh, to the far extent, I believe.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Here's a really good one I think that a lot of people have questions on, which is how do you manage the expectations of your leaders or leaders inside of your group or inside of your company? Let's go with Darshil.
So basically, managing expectations from leaders is something that it's a really a curveball, I would say. So leaders are definitely wanna get everything done. Like, not all, but some of the leaders would wanna get everything done in such a short time. And not all of the leaders are technical enough to know that this particular thing might take 2 weeks, and there's probably no way we can do it in a couple of days. So that is something that a little bit of education to leaders to help them what are the what's the ask, what is the ask is, and ensuring that they know what we're actually doing, and ensuring that the proper process has been followed is something that I plan and do to ensure that leaders are well aware about the things that I do, and ensure that the timelines and the things we deliver are as per the expectations.
Awesome. Let's go with Joy.
Yeah, I think being your own internal advocate and knowing how to market yourself and your work and the marketing ops department as a whole is key. And also just, build relationships with leadership, because the more that they know you, the more that you know them. I feel like, at least, like, they've been able to really understand and just feel me better with, if I let them know that, like, hey, we're not able to meet that expectation, or we may need to move this timeline, or what do you want to shift priority wise so that I can make this happen. And I just feel like those conversations are just easier to have when you do have a little bit of a relationship, and that definitely helps. And so, yeah, I guess that's my main tip.
All right, Joy. Or sorry, Joy, want to win? Sorry.
I'd say one of the things I've struggled with leadership is I am a yes person, something I'm much better at now than many years ago. But learning how to say no is so important. And while being a yes person, I can say I've learned a lot. It's helped me progress my career. It's been really hard. So I'm turning more into no person. But today, when it comes to leadership, I would say I don't just say no, or don't just say something's not possible. You have to explain the why, right? So it's not I can't do that, I don't have time. It's I could do that in this way instead. Or if they're asking for something unrealistic, maybe something crazy you need to build in Marketo is not possible, right? It's not That's not possible. It's that's not possible, but here's what is. So making sure you explain to leadership the details behind what you're doing and why you're doing it, or behind a request and why you want to approach it a certain way, I think are really key, because having that kind of communication really, really drives a good project to bond.
Awesome. Let's keep it rolling. Jenny, your top tips and tricks to stay organized or to stay on the right path. Any tips and tricks that you have for being on a small team?
Yeah. I'd say some of it is similar to what I said earlier, making sure you've got some kind of calendar that you're covering with your team on the tactical efforts that are coming up. Having a to-do list or using a project management tool are huge. Having SLAs in place are huge. And I said earlier that, we don't always abide by the SLAs, but if you stop abiding by the SLAs, then pretty soon you have no SLAs. So making sure you're staying on top of those is huge. And then one-on-ones and check-ins with your team. And not just the marketing team, but also the Salesforce team and the sales team and the IT team too. Sometimes making sure you're staying aligned is huge.
Awesome. Darshil?
I definitely echo everything that Jenny said. Apart from all the things that she just said, I also like, apart from documenting and staying organized on a personal front, I also like to add those little descriptions in the Marketo assets, just so that everybody's organized, be it me or someone who is logging in the instance, seeing the asset. And like, the flows in Marketo could get really complex. We may have a lot of assets, and instead of them referring to the project plan or going through the diagram or stuff like that as to why these particular assets are created, it is just really convenient to add those little descriptions into the assets, so, just so that everybody is organized, not only from a project plan perspective, but also when they're logging into the instance, seeing the assets, they know that this particular asset references for this flow, or this is created because of this reason, etc. So yeah.
Shout out naming conventions for sure.
Absolutely.
Joy, your last one.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff that seems little, like naming conventions, is actually huge. And then documenting it so that, if you do bring on a team member, you've got kind of that training and enablement in place. It's almost like their personal onboarding program, right? They can kind of look at that documentation as like a living, breathing playbook that they can follow, to do their job. And so that's always been a huge thing for me, is to document. It not only helps for onboarding and training and, just, having those things documented, but it also acts as a great way to pull different pieces of it to show leadership and to communicate that value. Like we said, being advocates for yourself. And so being able to communicate that value that you're bringing to the organization and really ensure that you're tying it to the goals that the business cares about, and what kind of impacts is that making, right? Like, nobody probably cares that you're launching a lead scoring program. What does that lead scoring program do for them and do for the business, right? That's what they care about.
Yep. And when it comes to internal QBR time and asking for raises, it's already all documented.
There you go.
Yep. All right, let's go on to the next slide here. Self-sufficiency. Let's go with Joy, since you were just chatting. Really, how did this experience help your career, and how are you able to be as successful as you are, or were you able to expand your team at all through this experience?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hinted to it earlier, but having that intake process, I was able to expand team, through that, because we could kind of see the amount of just incoming requests and all the things that we're trying to accomplish. And, the more ad hoc incoming requests, the more it could potentially throw off your big roadmap items that the business really cares that you're accomplishing. And so, being able to kind of prove that, hey, it looks like we need an additional campaign, operations help, or, maybe we have a lot of reporting requests coming in. We might need, an analytics person on our team. That definitely helped. I think also just, working on a small team and seeing like where my skills and strengths lie, and where any gaps there, may be. I was, able to kind of figure out like, oh, okay, like I might need to go skill up in the certain area or that certain area. And the more experience that I got with Marketo, and the more hands-on that I actually physically, did within the platform, it just helped me be able to kind of set me up for success. And I think ultimately, with my career to even move into consulting, right? Because I wanted to see more different instances and, more different types of businesses and use cases. And so the more that you do get hands on yourself, the more that you're setting yourself up for that career growth as well.
Awesome. Darshil, let's hear from.
Yeah, absolutely. So, personally, being in consulting business, the company cares about, like, apart from the resources, the project that we are deployed, and they also care about how you are able to grow the account in which you are deployed. So, being organized, being the person who is able to drive a lot of those complex marketer projects implementations definitely helps expanding the team that the team that is deployed on the client project. So when a new company signs an SOW, they are not gonna in most cases they are not gonna task us with a lot of things, multiple things, market or SFTC implementation, a lot of items related to that. They will probably would want to try out our expertise and see how we perform on certain smaller project, and see if we are right fit for them. So definitely staying organized, keeping the leadership team aware about what we are doing, the expectations, and just staying organized a bit definitely helped my company to deploy additional resources and expand the project and the ticket size in my personal experience, and I got multiple shout outs from the leadership just because of that as well. So yeah.
Awesome. Congrats on that. Jenny.
I'd say being on a small team is really what drove my career, I think, because when you're on a small team, you have to wear so many different hats and you learn everything. So it helped me grow my knowledge and my skills, but then it also helped me know what I want to do. I knew I wasn't a content writer. I would have thought I'd be a content writer, but no, I knew I liked marketing technology. I knew I liked marketing automation, especially Marketo. So it helped me figure out that technology and operations was for me. And it gave me the skills and growth I needed to be able to be strong at it. And then it got me involved in the community, because I was on a small team and I needed places to go for information and answers. And as I got more involved in the community, I started leading the Atlanta user group. As I started leading the Atlanta user group, I became a champion. And fast forward to today, when I joined my current company, we had a team of 2 that could handled any of our own needs and our client needs. And fast forward to today, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you how much the team's grown right now, but just it's really helped me expand my current team as well as my career because of having to wear those hats and growing those skills from being on a small team.
Awesome. Did I forget anybody? Did everyone go? Okay, cool. All right, let's go on to the next one. I want to make sure I didn't leave anybody out. Let's glorify yourself, right? Be your biggest advocate. What is the largest success story that you've had while being on a small team? Let's go ahead and go with Jenny, since you were just chatting.
I'd say one of my favorites, well, 2 of my favorites, is the first small team I was on. The very first year Marketo had the Revy Awards, we heard about the Revy Awards, and I immediately was working with my CMO and our partner at the time, and I went into Marketo and Salesforce and pulled all the analytics, and lo and behold, we won. So our company was the first one of the first winners of the Revy Awards, and I got to go to the ceremony and bring home the nice, crystal, and it was really exciting time. And then fast forward to my current company, and similarly, we won an Experience Maker Award, and I felt like a lot of that was because of all of the years of hard work, that I put into the system. It's not just me, obviously, it's a team, but definitely those were 2 times I was really excited that I felt like all the things I learned on a small team really paid off.
Awesome. Darshil, what's your largest success story?
So for one of the projects, and the client was already Deloitte's customer, they hired us for other Adobe. They also wanted to take our help with regards to market implementation. So initially, I was the person that was deployed on that project as a sole resource, and they had like 7 plus systems that enterprise grade systems that needed to be integrated with Marketo in either unidirectional or bidirectional sync method. So a lot of technical things coming into play, and at least from the Marketo's front, since I was the sole resource, I was responsible for leading all the strategy discussion, leading all the tech discussions, as well as the providing proper documentation and training to the client on all the implementations that I did. So a lot of things. And personally, like on a personal front, I learned a lot of things, not only from technical standpoint of view, but also like how to conduct those meetings, how to speak in a strategic call when there are C-suite people, executives are present in the call. They are definitely not going to understand all the nitty gritties of the technical things that you are actually building in Marketo. But to be able to speak their language and to be able to understand their language, the ask and translate into the technical things, and then go into the Marketo instance, implement those things. So definitely learned a lot. And yeah, I mean, managed to launch the project in record time with zero escalations. So yeah, learned a lot on personal front, yeah, from the project.
7 integrations in one project. Oof, that's
Yes,
wild. That's a high amount in one. Joy, let's hear
absolutely.
from you.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to kind of tout the success of, some of my team. So, still even a small team, outside of, just myself, when I had a couple people reporting to me, I love to see their success. And so, seeing them get Marketo certified, or, seeing them get a promotion and stuff is like super exciting to me and like really motivating. I just love it. And then kind of to that too, even people that I have, managed in the past, still keep in touch with me today, and they'll, ask me questions on strategy or Marketo this, or, whatever. And to me, that feels like just such a big win. Like, I know I've made an impact on their life. They've obviously made a huge impact on my life, and we continue to stay in touch and, have some mentorship even past, like being their people manager. And so that to me is just a big success story. It's one of the biggest things that I love to do is to train and mentor and coach. And so, I'll take it a little outside of just, Marketo, and that, just seeing that small team grow and see their opportunities and see their career growth as they go on is super motivating. So
Absolutely.
I changed
Absolutely.
my answer. I
Let's go.
100% agree with Joy.
That being
Absolutely.
said, those awards are really cool though, Jenny. Yeah, I and it's like, even I guess just like myself, like, personally, I remember when I presented to Marketo to get my solution architect certification. Now it's a written exam, but that was really cool to feel like I did some impactful work as a consultant, and could present those case studies to Marketo. That was kind of a really cool personal accomplishment, but I do just love seeing the accomplishments of my team. So
Absolutely. We're running a little short on time, so let's combine these next two questions. I think they are kind of quite similar.
mhm.
Darshil, I'm going to have you go first. How did these experiences encourage you to become certified, either as an expert or solutions architect? And then also, how did that propel you to become a Marketo champion?
Absolutely. So I am very fortunate to have amazing mentors like Janie Robertson, standing my side, helping on a personal front as well as professional front. So Jenny helped me a lot, in achieving my Marketer Certified Architect certifications. So I was given an opportunity to co-lead one of the large project that was a migration project from Eloqua to Marketer. So being part of the strategy calls, being part of the tech calls, and of course all the time, like at that time I was just 2 years, so I had like 2 years experience, didn't know a lot of things, was learning on the way. So I learned from Jenny and the other people that when you are deployed on larger project and are on a small team, staying organized, and being able to implement what you're saying is something, and build your credibility over time is quite important. So definitely those things help me build a solid presentation, which I presented to Adobe and got my architect certification. And apart from that, I never rushed into any of the certification on a personal front. I waited for like an year to get uh, to for my export certification in the first, and then prepared and wait for another years just so that I'm confident, and then present it to Adobe for my architect certification. And apart from that, being a champion, it's more than a year now, and I have realized the like being a champion is all about being organized. Like all of us have our personal job, all of us have our work, we have our personal commitments, and then we also have advocacy stuff for Adobe, participating webinars, contributing to community, etc. So when you are wearing all of those hats and you need to be a person who is able to excel in all of these different areas, being organized as much as possible, prioritizing things is all it takes to be successful. And yeah, like being as a champion, being as a person, being as an architect as well. So yeah, I mean, all of those helped me to become a champion and certified, to be honest.
Awesome. Well, since you just teed up Jenny, let's hear from Jenny next.
I think in general, when it comes to certification, when you're on a small team, because you have to wear so many hats, I'll say for me, I think when the certification first came out, I helped beta it. But even today, if you're on a small team and you're wearing all these hats, you do not need to study to get certified. You already know everything there is to
Absolutely.
know about Marketo. And I think that is one of the advantages of being on a small team. I know people are afraid to take that certification step, but if you're on a small team and you're the Marketo, you own Marketo and marketing ops, and you're in there and you're doing the administration and the marketing activities and all of that, you're ready to get your certification. So I think just the benefits of being on a small team as far as certification goes is that you're already ready to go in there and get that done. So I think for me, of course, it definitely led to me becoming certified, because it's what you do every day, you know?
Yeah. And then how did it
Absolutely.
help you become a champion? That was the last question.
For me, back up to the first time I became a champion, because we were a smaller team and earlier Marketo adopter, we were very close with Marketo at the time, and they didn't have applications back then. So Marketo reached out to me and said, "Hey, we have this program, and we think you'd be a good fit for it." And I got lucky that I learned about the program that way, but it was because of the small team and the early adoption of all of Marketo's features and things that I was given that opportunity.
Awesome. Enjoy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think wearing the hats is like the key point there, because like when you're on a small team and you're wearing all those hats, it's like for me, as soon as I started migrated onto Marketo for the first time, I was like, I want to get certified. I see people out there with that certification and I want that. And so, your everyday working, like you're getting that experience. Like now I will say I'm a little nerdy and did study the first time. But you really don't need to. Like I really found that I had the experience, and it's like I've taken it 7 times since nearing my 8th time, and it's like now I just go into it like, okay, like let's take the exam, and you get that experience. The more that you're on a smaller team, the more you have to learn how to do, and you'll keep expanding, and if you change companies, or roles, you'll get a different set of experience. And so that's definitely helped. And, in terms of how that turned into a champion for me, I had already gotten my expert and solution architect, and I was kind of like, why haven't I ever, tried to apply for this champion thing? Like, I have all this experience working on different size teams and a lot on a small team. And I, love Marketo and thought I'd be, great for the advocate program. So yeah, I just, applied and see where it went. And here we are.
Absolutely. 2 shout outs. First shout out would be if you have interest in the Marketo certification, listen back for our last webinar where we talked about that for an hour. And then also, if you're interested in becoming one of these amazing champions like you're hearing from today, we're going to have applications opening in May. And I am the champion program leader. So feel free to get in touch with me if you are interested in doing so. All right, let's go to the last slide, which is about this positive impact. So let's go ahead and keep the ball rolling with Joy. What was the best way that you demonstrate your positive performance?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just keep screaming, like, be your own personal advocate, right? Like, document, show those results of the things that you've worked on, right? And what they've done to the business, for the business. And, be sure that you're not just doing the work and, staying quiet in your, your cube or your little home office, right? Like, be visible, be present, be active, in conversations that are happening. And that's a great way to, be able to just show those accomplishments, and people will start, recognizing you. So.
Sweet. Let's go ahead with Darshil.
I second Joy. So when you're working in in this nitty gritties and you're working in marketer projects, a lot of time you are doing amazing things that not a lot of people can do and accomplishing a lot of things. But there could be cases if you're not able to communicate well to your leadership team, the people who manage you, your effort may go unnoticed. So the ideal state would be to document everything to ensure that you are able to demonstrate and share with the leader, with your leaders, able to communicate the things that you do and uh, the output that you're able to get from the amazing things that you're doing. And I think that's one of the way to demonstrate the positive performance in the thing for the things that you're doing.
Awesome. Jay.
I think for me, a couple of things I mentioned already, but I think submissions are still open today for the Experience Maker Award, but working with your leadership team and applying for that, whether it's for your company or for your team or a project you worked on, what better way to demonstrate success than by becoming a finalist or winning a Experience Maker Award? So if you're not thinking about that or you haven't thought about that, I think I apply almost every year for something. Don't always get picked for sure, but if you don't try, right, you'll never get in there. So that's one way. And it also connects you with your leadership team to start talking about that story every year. Like, hey, I think we could win this award because of XYZ. And then you work with your leadership team on getting those details together. So I think that alone helps show your positive performance every year. So if you're not doing that, you definitely should. And I also think it's really big to tell the story, kind of like I said earlier, like when you're working with your leadership team, it's not like, hey, yeah, I got all these tactical emails out, or that webinar was a success, or this funnel management is working really well. It's telling the story and the insights behind it. Like, hey, this thing we all did together as a team is working because look at all this revenue it's driven. Having the numbers and the data behind it, I think is really big. So it's not just, hey, I finished all my tasks on time, right? It's, well, what did those tasks help the company accomplish? And being able to tell that story is really big.
Huge, huge, huge. Applications close tomorrow. So if you have not applied, please go for it for
Okay,
Experience
tomorrow.
Maker
Yeah.
Awards. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Let's go ahead with Darshil, the next one. How did this experience help you outside of your use of Marketo, either in your personal brand or, outside of maybe outside of work, whatever it may be? How did that help you?
So being working in the small team, I learned that being organized is quite important, and I know I have said this multiple times because I know how important it is. And being able to prioritize things, and like outside of work, I have a journal that I write and prioritize things that I need to do on a monthly, like in the next month, in the next week, stuff like that. So. On a personal front, I think this helped me building my personal brand a lot over the past 16 months. So I've been wearing a lot of hats, being a champion, uh, like performing good in my role, as well as posting a lot on LinkedIn. A lot of people approach me saying that how are you able to manage all of these things in like in a day? But on a personal front, just being able to prioritize things, and like everybody is 24 hours, it's up to you how you utilize them, is what I believe. So yeah, I mean, the key takeaway would be to be and just being as organized as possible, and let your brain think about the real deal rather than your brain thinking about the things that it needs that you need to do accomplish. Just write those things down and let your brain worry about the cool stuff.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Joy?
Yeah, so I mean, I think, outside of the use of Marketo too, I mean, similar to what Darshil just said, like, being, part of podcasts and, different, just marketing operation focused things, that aren't just Marketo, has been helpful. I think it is also one of the things to like demonstrate, your performance and stuff, because if the people on your leadership team, see you being part of, a bigger voice in the marketing ops world and stuff, they definitely can take notice, and it definitely can, help progress your career. I think it also just helps build relationships with other people. And the more that you build those relationships with, other people, whether they be, Marketo focused or not, the more that you're able to just learn from others and have connections and know who to go to if you get stuck and want to discuss something. I mean, this marketing ops community, there's a lot of us, but yet it's such a close community. And so don't be afraid to meet with others, to get to know others, to go ahead and use your voice and use that to influence and motivate and mentor others as well. So sometimes it's you think your voice isn't being heard, but it's actually like booming loudly for people are listening without them even knowing. I've had people reach out to me on LinkedIn and just say the kindest things, and it's like, oh, I didn't even know anybody heard that. And so it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Jen.
Great. Yeah, you guys covered it pretty good. I agree 100% with everything you guys both said. I think the only other thing for me to add to that is being on a small team. I think outside of, using Marketo and running that day to day, it really makes you step out of your comfort zone, which is actually, for me, really good for me, especially if I look at my career and where it's gone and how I felt about things and my comfort level with things 20 years ago versus today. I think that being on a small team really helped me step out of that comfort zone and become more comfortable in areas I wasn't comfortable in before, whether it's speaking or talking about other platforms or using other platforms or working with sales or whatever it may be. It really just, it gets you very well rounded, and you can pretty much throw anything. Somebody who's been on a small marketing ops team, you can throw anything their way and they're going to be able to tackle it.
Awesome. Jenny, let's go ahead and keep it with you. Who did you work closest with that wasn't on your team that helped your instance improve? Both, maybe internally, maybe one externally, one of those two.
Yeah. Internally, I'd say working with the Salesforce team, with the Salesforce administrator. That they didn't have access to Marketo, and I didn't have anybody else in the team that could help with stuff. So making sure they probably did the best to help us improve our instance, because we had some integration issues, some sync issues. We needed some field changes and things. Because it was a small team, that really was the only person internally that could possibly help. But it was pretty much, and I have a little bit of a bigger team now, but a lot of it's always been on me. And externally, we did have a partner. The partner, though, our CMO at the time, really wanted to use the hours and our retainer very strategically, wanted to focus on strategic efforts, didn't want the partner really helping in Marketo. So I would say our partner really did help when it came to, at the time, I don't know if anybody's been in Marketo this long, but we didn't used to have programs. We used to have to put smart campaigns in folders, and Marketo came out with this thing called programs and said, hey guys, start using programs. And I had no idea what to do. And luckily our partner at the time, had internal training sessions with Marketo and knew best practices. And they did teach me best practices on how to use programs. And it might sound so simple now, but it's huge. It's what made our instance hum. And all I had to do was learn from them for a couple hours, and then our instance was great after that. So I have partners, very huge.
Awesome. Keep shining out that partner ecosystem for sure. Let's go with Darshil next.
So internally, as Jenny said, I would definitely agree. Having close relationship and alignment with the SFDC team is definitely important, and something that we as market experts do communicate and be in touch with day in and day out. Apart from that, like I personally am being deployed on multiple projects where we have a lot of other applications, a lot of API developers, a lot of people who are actually, building out the integrations for the platforms that do not have the native integrations available. So being able to communicate well with those core technical people who do not know what is possible and what isn't possible in Marketo is also instrumental. And when it comes to external, I think a lot of times I really hop on a call with Marketo support team to understand what the real issue is, and being able to being on a call and able to demonstrate the things that we are facing issues with. And a lot of times we have seen that that issue is just isolated to our instance or our client's instance, and on a call we are able to deploy a patch, work with the engineering team, and rectify the issues. So a real good experience with the support team as well a lot of times. So yeah, I think those are the two teams, internally and externally, that I have worked a lot in my Marketo journey.
Awesome. Joy.
Yeah, for me, I'll kind of echo the Salesforce, admin and team is probably the one that I've worked closest with, just because it's just so tightly integrated. But also, I think one thing that's sort of outside of even partners is just reaching out to, like, I remember when engagement programs first, came out, and I was like, I think I want to utilize this for our nurture, but I don't know much about it. I've kind of looked at some of the documentation, but I don't know the gotchas, or like, what do I need to know? I just reached out to somebody that I knew was an expert in the community, and I was like, hey, like, if you can give me an hour of your time, like, I'll even pay you for it. Like, can you give me the lowdown on engagement programs? And he did. He hopped on a phone call with me and told me all about them. And, I was able to, kind of quickly, fast track that learning and start using that in the instance. So, I mean, don't be afraid to reach out to people. If you have a partner, great. If you don't, there's plenty of people that I'm sure will, hop on a phone call and help you out for a few minutes. So that was definitely, really helpful, and it was sort of a third party that ultimately helped me improve the instance as well. When you're on a small team, you got to get scrappy, right? So
Absolutely. We have one more to go over, and then Amira, I did see your question. I'm gonna if you can stay on afterwards, I'm gonna have our champion stay on so we can answer that. But did you expand your utilization of Marketo because of this experience, or did you even expand into other softwares because of this experience? Sorry, I forgot to tee it up. Joy, let's go to you next first.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for sure. I've used almost all marketing automation platforms, like the big ones on the market, not just Marketo. Not all of them, but a lot of them, right? Once you get really good in one, it helps you to be able to fast track and like really get going in another, even if you've never worked in it before. You'll still probably always have your favorite, probably Marketo, and right. But it does help. It also just helps, if you go through integrating Marketo with other softwares as well, you start to get more experience with working, with other tools like webinar platforms or chat platforms, or, anything that in different data enrichment platforms, anything that you integrate, right? I think it's a good place in your career to like really know at least a little bit of how, high level they work and how the data flows and things like that. And also an opportunity to, kind of Jenny's point with wearing the many hats, it gets you an opportunity to see what you like working with and what you don't, right? And I've been able to kind of tailor my career towards mostly the ones that I prefer to work in, right? And limit the ones that I don't prefer as much, or, in the areas that maybe aren't my expertise, but, I can speak to at high level. So that's kind of where I've gone with different softwares.
Awesome. Jenny, I see you're off mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've had two different experiences when being able to expand utilization of Marketo or other platforms while being on a small team. My first experience was we were very forward thinking. So every time a new feature came out, we were the first ones raising your hand. Oh, you need a beta client. We want to try it. We're in. Back when they had Forms 2.0, it's not even called Forms 2.0 anymore, but we were one of the first Forms 2.0 adapter, one of the first program adapters, one of the first to implement a revenue cycle modeler. So have definitely, being on a small team that was innovative, always expanded utilization of other parts of Marketo as they came out. On my current team as well. However, we've also come across, like, it is a small team, so you don't always have time to play around with the new features. So I think, I can't remember if it was one of the sales insight improvements that was a year or so ago, but we wanted to check out the new features, and we just didn't have bandwidth because we only have 3 to 4 people on our marketing team dedicated to our own stuff right now. So it's kind of gone both ways depending on what's going on at the time, whether we can expand our usage or not, depending on bandwidth of the team. So I'd say as far as being on a small team, it has its pros and cons there.
Awesome. Awesome. Darshil, last but not least.
On the personal front, and like when I was projects which had just two members, and we were taking care on a lot of marketing operations. So initially that particular company, or even I and my colleague, we didn't use marketing calendar a lot. But since we're deployed and a lot of requests were coming in, we started using the marketing calendar and really found a good deal of merit with it. So we were able to see the campaigns that are going to go on a particular day and share those with the clients, taking their final sign off on those. So personally, from a marketer standpoint of view, and for this particular question, I would say I started using the marketing calendar and fall in love with it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, we got a question from Amira. I will go into the Q&A section, and then Darshil, I'll let you finish up. The question is, one of the things I'm the most afraid of is making a big mistake in the system and losing data, or knowing that I should have done something, knowing I should have done something. In a small team, it's all on you. What is the biggest mistake you've made, and how did you recover from it? Jenny, I see you're off mute. Go ahead, go first.
Um, I can't think off the top of my head of a big mistake I made. I've made some small mistakes for sure, but there was one time when I was sending an email to a large audience. And thank goodness this was after Marketo had come out with that little abort feature, because I had clicked go. And then right after I clicked go, I realized it was the wrong audience. And so I quickly hit the stop button. I think only like a handful of emails went out. So that would probably be my biggest blunder. And I luckily was able to avoid it. But I have had, as I've had clients with smaller teams, one of the things I can say you run into with a small team that I've seen is, not everybody on a small team wants to be a Marketo. They're more of a content person. They don't want to have to create and send emails. So I have seen many emails go out to the wrong audience or gone out with the wrong token and things like that. And usually the way I've seen clients handle it when they accidentally do that is, you got to send that "I'm sorry" email after.
Yeah, shout out dear first name, right? I think everyone's gotten one of those one time.
Yes, yes, yes.
Joy, let's hear from you.
Yeah, probably very similar. I mean, these are like moops, right? Marketing oopsies. We've all done it. Like, I don't think you're in marketing ops if you haven't done it yet, right? I don't know if there's anything like on a huge grand scale that I can, talk about, but I think, for sure sending to a wrong audience, right? I don't know anybody that's probably at one time in their career messed up a smart list logic, right? And so, one thing that I would kind of say too, like, is if you have a kind of decentralized model where there's different people in there that maybe aren't Marketo experts, but they just, a marketer that need to get in there to send out their send, definitely implement a solid QA process. And I don't care how long you've been in it, follow the checklist that you put together of a QA process, because and then definitely provide training and enablement to your team and all the marketers that may be in there doing things, because, smart list logic and getting the audience right, checking for proofing the emails and all that simple stuff that tends to just like hurry up and go through, when you're trying to move fast and get things out the door. Definitely just take that extra 2 minutes and, look it over. So.
Absolutely. Darshil.
On a personal front, I think I have discussed this in one of the previous champion officers as well, regarding the mistake that I did when I was early on my career related to webhooks. So when you deploy in webhook, when you're using in the smart campaign, like if you go into the webhook definition and updates, like make an update, marketer is not gonna know, because it already has cached the entire webhook definition that you previously set it up. So post the update, when you run the webhook, make a call to webhook, it is gonna use the cached version and not the version that you just updated. So, or like I didn't know initially, so I ran the webhook, and there were a lot of people who got synced to the third party platform and got updated in a wrong manner. But like none of the emails went out with the wrong data or something of that sort. Just I had to spend I think few hours to rectify the data, and then I got to learn in a hard way that if you want to update a webhook, probably it's an idea like clone and create a new webhook and then utilize in a smart campaign instead of just updating the existing webhook definition. And I think I have posted a tip about it on LinkedIn few months ago. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Darshil, I'll let you finish with us here today then. Let's hear about your new blog that you have been posting about.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brad. So earlier this week on Monday, I launched a personal newsletter style blog that goes by the name Purple Me Up. So basically, as most of the marketer guys have been following me, and they know that I've been posting regularly on LinkedIn over the past 16 months, and getting good traction there. And a lot of people do reach out to me and like just thanking in general, and a lot of people do approach me with the questions as well. And I try to help as many people as possible. So this is one of my way of documenting everything at a single place. And a lot of people have approached me saying that they are not able to load my older articles or older blogs, and there could be a case where LinkedIn would just purge all of my previous posts owing to the data retention policies or something of that sort. So I decided to come up with this Purple Mia blog where I have documented all of my tips, all of my gotchas that I have posted on LinkedIn till now. And I'll be like I have started posting on this blog and sending out the email newsletter twice a week. So definitely sign, like if you are interested, check it out, and definitely sign up if you feel the content is good. And if you have any suggestions related to the topics, definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn or email. I am always open for the suggestion and being a loyal advocate to Marketo.
Awesome. Thank you all for being such great speakers today. Thanks for everyone who held on for a few extra minutes. I know we had some great topics that we went over. Um, we'll finish there. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and we will see you on the next deep dive in April. Have a great one.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
guys.
guys. Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye.